So what makes a great web story work? Let's find out. First off, if you haven't watched the Grand Showcase episode where I show a bunch of really compelling stories and tell you what's great about them, watch it and then come back to this video. That episode is an ideal first entry point to get an intuitive sense for what makes a story work. Stories are somewhat unique because they sit somewhere between text and video on a web page. Their bite-sized nature, immersive layout, and ability to combine multiple media types like videos, audio, and text into a page means that you have to craft them differently than a blog post or a YouTube video. Okay, because we all like pairs of threes, here's one we'll dive into today. The right narrative, the right media, and the right design. The key to a great narrative is to tell a relatable, interesting story in an engaging way. One easy way to make a narrative more engaging is to incorporate your own perspective. Providing your own point of view makes it easy for your audience to build a connection with you and hopefully come back for more. Incorporating your own perspective is easiest when you use the first-person narrative to tell the story, which makes you the protagonist. Ever notice how especially captivating documentaries deliver a lot of information through the lens of 3 to 4 subjects? That's exactly the same principle. You're experiencing the topic through a person living it, which can make it much more relatable and engaging. But that's still no good if you're telling your story in a straight, monotonous manner. Every type of storytelling benefits from a proper dramatic structure or narrative arc. That doesn't mean every story has to result in catastrophe. But having a strong exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, plot twist, and so on can help you keep the reader's attention. And if you really want to keep folks on their toes, just make them interactive. Within web stories, you can use polls, quizzes, or simple leading questions to involve the reader. So let's say you've taken all this advice to heart and created a proper 5-act dramatic web story telling an epic tale over 200 pages. I mean, first off, respect, but also no. While there are certainly exceptions, most text-heavy or very long stories are not engaging. Try to keep your story snackable by keeping text under 200 characters and videos under 15 seconds, or by conveying a single idea per page. But also, and I know this might feel like it contradicts what I just said, a web story should tell a full story and never just a trailer or teaser. Your story should be snackable, but self-contained. It's okay to link to deep dives like a long-form blog post explainer or in-depth YouTube video, but don't make a single-page story in an ill-conceived attempt to capture traffic. In previous episodes, I talked about how with web stories, you usually start with media like a video or image and then add text to it, versus the other way around. So selecting good media is critical. Take an Italian dish like the classic pasta bolognese. Because that recipe focuses so much on the tomato sauce, you really can't make it work with mediocre tomatoes. But while a premium San Marzano tomato might be the right call for bolognese, you can't use it for a pesto dish. The lesson here is to prioritize picking media that matches your narrative. Like, I could put the super high quality image of a San Marzano tomato on this page about dog grooming 101, and it wouldn't really improve the story. When you have found the right media, make sure that it is recorded or cropped to portrait orientation to allow it to fill the entire story page. Sometimes landscape video or imagery is unavoidable, of course, and then it's okay to make it part of a carefully laid out page like here. Sadly, even a careful layout can't save video that has a ton of camera shake, bad lighting, or a lot of compression artifacts. Same with images. Nobody likes leftover watermarks, badly masked subjects, terrible composition, and so on. If you're not creating your own assets, then make sure you use high quality stock from either free sites like Unsplash, Cover, Pexels, or Pixabay, or paid sites like Getty, Shutterstock, and so on. And notably absent so far has been another great media type that can make a story more immersive: music. In a world where background media music on websites has all but been forgotten, one little audio track, if embedded well into a page or whole story, could change the game and what emotion is conveyed, especially when there's a person talking in the video. Yes, like me with this generic epic trailer music, rated PG-13 only in web stories. Okay, you got a great story to tell and some beautiful images and videos. Amazing. So far you have the right ingredients for a good slideshow or video, but a web story needs a little more than that, with carefully placed layouts, text, animation, and effects to really make it pop. With the small but carefully selected text you put on the story page, it becomes even more apparent if you didn't pick the right vertical rhythm or line height, boldness, and type of font. Give careful thought to typography and pick the right font that matches what you want to say. That could be a classic serif font for a story about extravagant train rides, or a bold streamlined font for an edgy entertainment story. Since story pages aren't created in linear fashion like a blog post, you should also invest in thoughtful composition. That means careful consideration of negative space like the right margins, even spacing and alignment, overlapping elements, and so on. When you get the basics right, you can experiment with purposeful design contrast and dynamic elements, like elements at an angle, stickers and emojis, subtle or stark drop shadows, inverse colors, and whatever else you find on Dribble these days. If that isn't enough, you can bring your stories to life by using immersive animations and effects. Animations work best when they are used to transition between content and pages, or when they immerse you even more, like with a subtle zoom-in can burn style effect on an image. Depending on the editor or creation method you use, you have access to a large toolbox of expressive effects and animations, but don't overuse them. Arguably, the worst way of overuse is repetition. Avoid using the same page design, animations, or assets twice in a row on multiple pages to minimize design fatigue. Whew! Of course, I could go into much more practical detail on a lot of these topics, but I should follow my own advice and keep you engaged by not making this into a 2-hour workshop video. I'll definitely follow up with deep dives into topics such as typography, asset sourcing, and more in the upcoming weeks. Subscribe to the Google Web Creators channel and stay tuned. Onwards!